Oye, mi gente, us caribeños know we need to stay refreshed cuando hay tremendo calor. Bueno, Cawy Lemon Lime Soda's got you. Since 1948, this crisp and refreshing soda has been helping us beat the heat. Cawy Lemon Lime is like the taste of sunshine sparkling off the clear blue waters of Cuba. Okay, bueno, or Miami. Y con zero aftertaste, the tart, sweet, bubbly Cawy Lemon Lime is perfect for quenching your thirst. Así que what are you waiting for? Find the authentically Cuban taste of Cawy Lemon Lime Soda in stores now.
This is DJ.
And this is Ish.
And this is
Season
Season
6
6 of Pero Let Me Tell You.
Oye, mi gente, so you know that one of our favorite episodes this year was when we got to come over here and play at the Cawy factory. We got to create that awesome video with the Jupiña, the Laverne and Shirley of it all, and that was thanks to Alex Garcia, the director here at Cawy Bottling Company. Well, he's back. And not only is he back, he has brought with him a friend. He's brought Josie Cossio, also a director at Cawy, and we are here to talk about, I mean, I'm not saying this because you guys are in front of me, I'm not blowing smoke. We're back here to talk about my new favorite drink, which is Cawy Lemon Lime. As anybody who's been listening to the show knows, we have been talking about this. We have been promoting it. We are in love with this soda. So thank you both for coming to talk about this awesome soda. Welcome back, and welcome to the show, Josie.
Thanks for having us back.
All right. Now, I'm sitting here. I love just looking out and seeing the factory and getting that vibe. But we're here to talk about Cawy Lemon Lime. Again, it is one of the most refreshing things. Again, we said in one of our last episodes, like we didn't know how to define when people said a crisp soda until we had Cawy. Talk to us a little bit about the soda itself. You know, I know its roots are obviously in Cuba, and it's the namesake of the company. So, you know, give us a little bit of background, a quick recap for those who haven't heard or remember our previous episode with Alex, where he talked to us about, you know, the roots in Cuba.
Well, actually, it's kind of funny because this is super timely. I went back and I knew you were coming, so I started going through my stuff to find this letter that my mom wrote to each of our kids. And as you saw, it's like really tiny writing on 2 pages.
She has great penmanship, I have to say.
So then I killed too many trees on this.
No, that's right. They had to
goes back. The history goes back, pero bueno, we used 2 pages for that. And it's back from 2011 that she kind of gave a little history of it. And she basically tells us that the refresco Cawy de limón y naranja started in Yaguajay, Las Villas.
Yaguajay.
Okay. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, in Yaguajay. And she was saying that the name Cawy, the C-A-W-Y, came from its first owners.
Okay.
And then she writes the names, like the C was Clodovold. I think it's Clodovold. Sounds like
I'm not going to correct you.
Trying to look at her penmanship here. It's very tiny.
I've learned never to go against an older Cuban woman's writing. You know,
That's
you
right.
just accept it and move forward.
Right. And then the A was Jose Bernardo Alonso. The W was from Waldo Martí, and the Y was from Inocencio. And they converted it to the Y instead of using the I because she says que ellos creyeron que era más atractivo el nombre Cawy, you know. So basically, yeah, the company in Cuba was back since 1948. And we did meet with like an older gentleman from that etapa as well, who told us all about like how he remembers. If I recall correctly, Alex, he was saying that it was started like in a garage, you know, another one of those great products.
Oh, okay.
Starts in the garage. They started making
those tend to do well.
Yes, with you know, the cane sugar and you know all the.
Look at us now. Look at the garage that we've got.
Slightly bigger garage. Still got garage doors.
Couple trucks fit in there
Yeah,
instead
yeah.
of cars. So
yeah,
we've,
so it's that's had its inception, and then my grandfather, as she says, goes on to say here, he used to Vicente Cossio. He used to work for Continental Can, and they used to supply the las tapas.
Okay.
For everything, like all the type of preserves and stuff like that, and so he used to supply the tapa to Cawy in Cuba.
Okay.
And Cawy was made in the bottles and stuff, and they used
So it was
this-
bottles back in Cuba.
In Cuba, it was bottles, and they used to use like the spring water and everything. This gentleman was telling us all about that, and so hence the blue color on the label. Even from Cawy, it always had the blue color, and you see on
Okay,
the shirt you
yes.
have on, and all the accents. It's the blue that goes back to like the mineral water of
that's so
from
cool.
Cuba. Yeah, and so basically, little by little, being un vendedor for Continental Cans, my grandfather eventually became associated with them, and that's how both he and then later my dad became part owners of Cawy in Cuba. And my mom even goes on, it's interesting in her letter because she says that she remembers que when they were novios, my dad would be like sketching I guess you call it a logo for Cawy, and she shows the little round that he started out with a circle, and it had the Cawy, and it's very tiny, as she wrote it in there.
I love that. She tells the story even with illustration.
Yes, she illustrates in there, and then she goes on to show que later on he partió el círculo, el centro, y le puso Cawy tal como sigue en la actualidad. So, he ended up doing that
Please
logo.
tell me that this is going to go in some type of like display case here at the factory, because that needs to be preserved, that letter.
I was in the process of translating it also into English, because she does talk a lot about, how it all came about, and particularly, of course, like the Cossio side of it, how that came to be a part of it all here. So, and then of course we had the great fortune, my parents at the time, of meeting the Garcias and the Villalbas, and that's where that partnership started in the U.S. My parents came to this country in '62. She even wrote it in here. I think it was July 20th of 1962 when they came to the United States. I know, en el puro verano.
welcome to Miami.
Welcome to Miami. Literally.
To Miami.
But on the same token, though, thankfully, people who were making sodas were here to help, make those summers a little more tolerable, right?
Right. And then they brought as she was talking here about, there was another partner from Cuba, the Machados, who had already had the name here. They came before, they had sent their kids, and then they came over, and they had told my grandfather and my dad, listen, we're getting out of here, because
la cosa está mala.
la cosa se está poniendo mala. So we're leaving, and then they ended up, registering the name here, and then my dad had the formula, or my dad had the formula, and I was going to say my grandfather, but no, it was my dad here, and my grandfather never came to the U.S. And he then using that formula, and then of course, todo mundo aquí probando, like they did the same with the materba. I hear that, all the employees, the Cuban employees, were tasting the materba, and that's it, you got it, that's the formula.
But that's the best way to do it, a taste test of people who know what it needs to taste like.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
And that's actually the beauty of it all, because, it brings back to a lot of the Cubans that immigrated here, a taste of their country.
And it gives them also a chance to show their kids a little slice of paradise from Cuba. They sometimes only see the bad things or hear about the bad things, but there were some really great things that came out of Cuba.
Yeah. Sometimes I think the trauma of the experience tends to take a front seat, unfortunately. And so, I think things like this, like Cawy, really does allow you, like you said, to remember the better times, and that it wasn't all, sadness and leaving the country and that. And I will say, Darian's dad, way back when we interviewed you initially, Alex, Darian went back and told his dad, fuimos a la factoría de Cawy, de Jupiña, da, da, da. And the first thing his father asked was, oye, ¿y por qué no hacen la soda de Cawy? Porque a mí me encantaba la soda de Cawy en Cuba. And so the minute that we got the samples, he was like the first person that Darian like ran to give him the can, because it was just, to your point of that sharing, right? It was that I know you guys say authentically Cuban, but it's that memory, that connection, and you could see when he tasted it, it was just like he was back there. He was going back to better times, as not to be maudlin or anything, but it is. It took him back to his childhood, to drinking the soda, carefree, and so on. So I definitely think you guys have done it in terms of eliciting that response. But I did want to say, as Darian's father had said, the question was, are you going to do Cawy, the lemon lime soda again? And there was a lot of, I'm assuming, people asking you that question. When you guys came to, when your families came to this country, it was available, it was started, but then it kind of went away, right? Unfortunately.
Yeah, it kind of, started fading when you started seeing a lot more advertising and a lot more prominence from some of the other clear sodas that we were competing against. So, we always sold it. We always had it readily available. But the pandemic obviously kind of
changed everything.
Changed everything in a way that we never anticipated. So for us, it was always like, it's not a matter of when we do it, we are going to do it, So we kind of let all the dust settle, and we said, okay, let's come out with a new can, same taste, same product. And so far, everybody that's tasted it, like Darian's dad, you guys, and some of the pop-ups that you've done, and some of the clients that have featured it, some of the clients that we are now kind of giving it away, like saying, hey, we're back type of thing, are giving us some great reviews on it. So we're really happy that we did it when we did it. Good things come when, to those who wait, and here it is. So.
Yeah, and it was a difficult thing, as you can imagine. And I know when I started working here back in, I think it was now 2014, I remember, I walked this factory and I thought, oh my God, how did they do this? And I can only imagine, a lot of times that's something that I'll sit and ponder on, and I'm like, I don't know how, if I had to leave everything and go to a country where I don't even speak the language and start up, let's say the bottling company there. So now I'm, sitting.
This is not a small operation here.
No, and no, it's not. And the reality of it is that, a lot of Cubans did, speak English and everything, but to come to this country and not just, have to assimilate and put your children in school. I always think it's funny how the Cubans are always 3 miles away, no, que tú vas a ir para allá y que college es eso, no, si aquí está la Universidad de Miami. But it's why are you, because I feel like they like to keep their
very motherhead.
Right, everybody together, and together we all get through this, I think that's part of because obviously Cubans before the revolution and all this trauma that they suffered, they did a lot. They were everywhere, and now they do a lot. The work ethic continues, and you see it, and you see our product. Who knew that apparently Kentucky now is one of the biggest growing Cuban populations,
Really?
Yes, in Kentucky, and I'm getting all kind of requests for our products from Kentucky, and we're everywhere.
Okay, so the second factory is in Kentucky.
The second factory, pero hay cubano en todas partes. My siblings, when they travel and they're in Europe and they're a cafe,
Isn't that crazy?
It is.
That's probably the one thing that makes us proud as Cubans, is to see that our history is now growing into areas that we never thought would be, an area of great interest to people. So yeah, Kentucky, we get calls all the time. Omaha, Seattle.
Yeah.
Oh, I moved to Seattle. How can I get it?
Well, jump on Amazon and order from direct from the factory.
I know. So yeah, and initially the lemon lime sodas, you imagine starting here and competing head to head with the Cokes with their Sprites and their this and that, and then so you have all the Cubans that are here, the nostalgia of it and everything, and as time goes by and the next generation and whatever, the product wasn't selling as well. And even from the very beginning, it was something that, yes, it was selling, but it wasn't as, so the other sodas, as I mentioned to you at another point, the other sodas, the Materva, the Jupiña, were all owned by different companies in Cuba. And little by little, they were approached, and they were like, yeah, we're not doing that. We're not going to do that in the United States. No, que va. Yeah, so it's too much. And then we ended, Cawy Bottling Company here ended up buying those, and that's how those products all are under our...
And we thank you for that every day, because we love our Matervas
Under our
and
label.
Jupiñas. We absolutely love it. It's funny you mentioned,
you.
the coming to this country not speaking the language. I always kind of joke with my sister that to this day, my grandfather, God rest his soul, had un taller, and I always say un taller because to me an auto shop is not what he had. It was a taller. Like, it's just in my mind, right? I have no idea how his limited English, he was able to go and get the small business. Like, I often stop and think about it. I'm like, he had very rudimentary English knowledge. How did he go to the bank and get a loan and blah 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 and all this to to have this? And he had the taller until he retired. So this is what he made his living off of. But it's kind of like what you're saying, when you build a community, you do have those people, those pockets who it's like they do speak your language, or even if they don't necessarily speak your language, they understand your situation and they do want to help you. And I think that's something that is community as a whole. That's what community should be. But I think specifically here in Miami, it's all I can speak to, as a Miami boy. The Cuban community has kind of set that groundwork of like, we are going to maintain our traditions. We are going to help each other and we're going to move forward together. And I think that's why it's so important actually that Cawy has come back, the lemon lime flavor, because there is something to maintaining that tradition in across generations. Now I will say nostalgia is a huge factor, but I know that last time we were here, Alex, you had mentioned to us that you're working with a class at for the redesign of the can, and that's the one that we're looking at right now, right? The Cawy that is on the can is in the stores and shelves.
So it was pretty much a culmination of, I think it was like 7 teams that each came out with different designs and ideas and how to promote it. And, we kind of took it all in and says, okay, this, we like this, we can kind of tweak it. We want to do this, but we don't want to do that. And pretty much that's how the can looks like today. Because we took a little bit of everybody because they all had great ideas. They just were thinking it in a way. And for us, we wanted to make sure that it talked true to who we are. So the colors, the designs of the lemon, the lime, we spent countless hours of, do we put the little rinds in the can coloring, or does the color match what we were before? I mean,
you've never spent that much time working on angles in your life, have you?
No.
Like, yeah.
But you know what? It's kind of like we all three put our heads together, and the fun part of this was we didn't tell anybody until we had decided on what it was. Some people were like, you guys changed it. That's sacrilegious. You can't do that. Other people loved it. My mom loved the new can design. So, I mean, I think it's a great thing of us coming together to see it all put to place.
And I have to say, I again, as a marketer, I studied design actually at So if I was at during this time, that probably would have been one of my projects, quite honestly. But what I love about it is, I can't tell you that I recall the old can vividly, but to me, this tells me what it is, right? Like right off the bat, I know what to expect. I know what the flavor profile is. And I think that's very important because you can't just kind of, like I said, nostalgia is very strong, but it can only take you so far if I don't know what your product is, right? And so I think the fact that you didn't allow that to kind of get in your own way. And I mean this as a compliment, because so many times brands will look at something and be like, no, we can, it's sacrilegious. Like you were saying, some people were telling you, we can never. And it's like, you can tweak a logo. You can tweak a can design. You can tweak, things. What matters is the product. Right. And the product is still the same. Yes. And now more people will understand it and appreciate it. I'm sure these college students, probably most of them were not Cuban Americans. And yet you were working with that next generation.
Yeah,
to bring it in, to 2023.
I was actually kind of surprised. Maybe I'm living in some sort of bubble because, to me, it's like, oh, everybody a lot of people that I know are Cuban or of Cuban descent or whatever. So it's like, of course they've heard of it. They've heard of, but now when you go down a couple of generations and you meet with these college students, I think there were two of them that were actually one Cuban and maybe the other one Hispanic, that they had heard of it. But the majority of the people in the class were all, American, that had never even heard of any of our products, not even the Jupiña or the Materva or anything like that. Because a lot of times you'll reel people in with Jupiña, because Jupiña is like our number one seller, so everybody's like, Jupiña, sí, or like the old timers, la Materva, sí, and they know Cawy. If they know the Materva, they know the Cawy. But usually the ones that don't, and if at least they know the Jupiña, and then you reel them in like that. But I mean, the can was something like, we just kind of started working on it, all three of us, and we came up with all these different things. And then speaking to Patsy Linares, who's her agency was the one that kind of put all this together.
PIL agency,
PIL,
right? Yes.
Exactly, PIL. And Patsy looked at the ideas that we had when she's a professor at UM, and it was her class and stuff. And so she looked at the ideas, and we're like, listen, Patsy, we're going to come out with a new look for the can, but we need like some marketing tips, and when we want to appeal to the what is it, the new
generation,
millennial, is that still it, or
no, I'm millennial,
Generation X,
Gen Z,
Gen Z,
and I don't even know por donde estamos. Like, I don't know, we're probably in the Greek alphabet by now. Like,
right.
Yeah.
We're like hurricanes, after the alphabet they go into the Greek alphabet.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Gen Alpha. I don't know anymore at this point.
Yeah, kudos to the hurricanes that are coming with the super Latin names. I'm like, ay, pero no
¿Tuviste?
de aquí, because no.
¿Tuviste eso? I was like, okay, go on, Aurelia or whatever.
I had like so many friends with similar names that I could not get this last hurricane, and then this Americano tells me like, yes, it's whatever. What was it? I don't know. Idalia. I thought it was like Idania or something. Like, I'm associating with somebody I know, and the guy's like, no, it's like this, but you change it. I'm like I'm getting schooled,
Right?
How to pronounce this like Hispanic name by somebody.
But if there's one thing I know, Idalia was a hurricane, but Idalia remembers Cawy from Cuba.
That's right.
Okay, we can all agree on that. Idalia remembers.
So anyway, Patsy, like, she looked at that can and she's like, I can't, no, I'm sorry, Josie, we can't do that. Absolutely not. And then she's like, you have to have something very similar to like your Jupiña. And she did actually really love and appreciate the color, the green color, and we struggled a lot, by the way, with the Cawy name, because we're like, what does it mean? Obviously, as I told you earlier on, it comes from the initials of these, the first ones that created it, the first owners of the company or whatever. So, but what does that mean? Like, what is a Cawy? It doesn't even, like with some other products that might allude to like mountains and springs or something that you're like, okay, that's what's in there, but what's in a Cawy, and the solid green color was kind of like, and it says lemon lime, really big, lima limon,
but
the
I love
whole
that
thing.
You kept the Cawy
But
font.
we did
the
keep
blue.
it. We did keep it.
And
the
it's-
blue, because it goes back to, like, that's the tradition, And what her class did, as Alex was saying, there were like about 7 groups, maybe even more, that combined like 2 or 3 in a group, and they had to pitch it to us, and we kind of gave them our history, and we're like, look, this is what we're trying to do. We want to see if we can reach Gen Z, how can we, because I think when people taste it, they're going to love it. And they came up with such great things. I mean, they had, and all 7 ideas were different. That's what was so cool about it. They came, they had, it was amazing. So like Alex and I saw we were there for their presentations, and that was kind of like their end of year project. It was, for us, it was a win-win. They had a project to work on, a real life thing that they could see like how, that was gonna be eventually incorporated in what we ultimately, and then of course PIL ended up, working and doing different things, but they had, storylines, they had the nostalgia of it being passed down from the grandfather to the grandson, like how to reel in that audience, because we firmly believe, and not because, I'm one of the owners, but I firmly believe that when you taste it, I know that when we first brought it out and we did them on the silver cans, like what I call a silver can is without the design.
Oh, okay, okay.
So yeah, we have some there that, are in silvers, just, and we tested we produced it in those cans, and when I took it out of off the line, it still didn't even have the cap on it. The smell of the lemon and the lime, it was just so good. I was so happy. I was so proud.
Did it just hit you in the feels?
It did.
Like
It really
gave you that
did.
emotion.
It really did. I was like, oh my God, this is so good. I smelled it like that, and I was like, the smell, and I drank it without the lid, on it.
Why
or whatever,
wait?
like right there, and my son was here too, so I was like, okay, kid, here, and he was like, man, Mom, this is so good. And then he took it back to his dorm, and like all the guys over there, again, in the sleek can, they're like, what is this? Where can we get it? This is so good,
It's a
and
secret.
I go, that's what we need, and he's like, no, we're going to be coming out, they're going to be coming out with a can with a thing, but this is just like the first run to just make sure everything, and they honestly, like they said they had very good things to say about it. All of us took home, some of the ones
prototypes,
in the prototypes, yeah. And I think, Alex, you too, like you had everybody, your mom, which was waiting for
She
it.
was the first one.
She
was
kept asking.
definitely the first one that I took.
Well,
Because
who should not be first if not your mother,
course,
of course.
She kept asking me, when are you guys going to make it? And it's like, soon. But I was like, as soon as we got the cans, I took her the first one and let her have it. So
And
And we
how
didn't
did she
even-
feel? How did she feel when she took
she
that first
loved
sip?
it. I mean, for them to see, come full circle, I think is how I could really share this to everyone, is she can now kind of say, okay, my job is done here. You guys do whatever you want, but thank God you guys brought it back. She loved the design. Everybody in my family has loved the design. So we're confident that it's just going to be, a great seller in the local Cuban community.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm getting a little misty-eyed just thinking of your mom having that moment. But something I just kind of want to say, hearing both of you speak and about, the project, and it went back to you. One of the things that we've talked about throughout this episode, like, the community, and I think it's interesting though, and you may not have even thought about it, is you guys actually, in doing this with I know the cynic can say, well, it was to find the new logo, but you really were being a community partner. Because you were giving these students a real world experience that they would not have probably gotten otherwise. And so when these kids go out into the world tomorrow, they know what it is to work on something for a real company, on a deadline, present it, have to defend it if the client has questions. And that's a way of you guys giving back. I mean, whether you realize it or not, I don't know if you guys stopped to think about it in that capacity, but you were.
We actually got an audience that had no clue who we were, so that made their class project that much more interesting. And for us, it just gave us a totally different view.
Yeah, gave you
from
insight.
People that didn't know who we were.
Yeah. With that said, you guys did provide them with huping and mateba, because I don't want to live in a
Yes,
world where these kids
yes.
left not knowing
We
the
bought 'em
wonderful
people-
taste of both, okay?
Yes,
We bought
took
them
a-
pizza. We bought them pizza. We brought them mateba and hupina. So
They must know
they
the
were-
taste of these.
They were well fed.
Okay, all right. As long as they were well refreshed, that's what I'm more concerned about.
And now as we roll it out, what we've been doing is we get a lot of requests, as you can imagine. We're going to put it out there, but no, it's okay. We always love working with the community. Truly we do. And it's a win-win for us. Sometimes people are like, oh, do you do a sponsorship? And what we do is we do an in-kind, because they taste the product, what better opportunity. So we do a lot of, fairs. Opalaca is going to be doing something now, and they're having for Hispanic Heritage Month. Tampa did
Perfect.
something. Absolutely. So they are having our sodas. We're working on flyers that will, talk about our
Which I'm
our
totally
history.
taking one with me, by the way. Don't think I'm not taking these when I leave.
We haven't even printed, so you're getting
Oh.
this is a printed here, so you're getting the first
I love it.
copy of that. And on the front, it's obviously promoting the Cawy lemon lime, and then on the back, it's giving you the history and a little story. We're working on a new web page as well, which we're just can't wait for that to be off the ground. We're so happy to be partnering with you and to be reaching, your audience, and,
Yeah, and thank you for that.
collaborating.
I will
awesome.
say, one of the things we pride ourselves on is, I was born in this country. Darian was born in Cuba, but he came when he was, I think, like maybe a year old. So for all intents and purposes, he grew up here, right? But one of the things we pride ourselves on is trying to always, show our culture and all its different elements and facets in the brightest light possible. And the fact that we get to work with you all, brands that we genuinely love and respect and grew up with and want to continue to pass down, to my nephews, to his son, it means a lot to us. So, I appreciate the fact that you guys trust us and love working with us enough to continue working in that partnership and allowing us to, be a small part of this rollout, because it does mean a lot to us. So I do want to just sincerely thank you both for that opportunity.
No, we're thankful for this, the partnership, the friendship that now all of a sudden has become. And, like you said, we want to make sure that we stay relevant to who we are, respecting how the struggles that each and every Cuban, not just our family, but each and every Cuban from that point till today is going through in order to make a better life for themselves. And for us to be able to help the community in any way we can is how we want to give back.
Yeah, well, I think you're definitely doing it. And, Cawy Lemon Lime is now available in stores, right? It's everywhere.
We're
it's
getting
out there.
it there, and you can help us. Your viewer, everybody, the listeners out there, pídanlo.
Yes, well, okay.
Ask for it, because
y'all gotta go
that
online.
Goes a long
you
way.
gotta what is it? Follow Cawy Bottling is your Instagram, right? It's Cawy Bottling. So follow them so you can keep up to date on everything happening. Follow us, which you probably already do if you're listening to this. And if you're at a Pim Pam Pollo pop-up, we will have some Cawys there. I'm not going to lie, I'm kind of hoarding some of them for myself. So, just FYI, guys, if you get there and I say we don't have any more, I may actually have 2 left, but I'm keeping them for me. Porque el sol está que calienta, and I need to keep nice and hydrated, okay? But honestly, I thank you both for taking the time to talk with us and for bringing this back. It's a soda that I'm being completely honest, I didn't even know existed until we came and spoke to you earlier this year. I was not familiar with it. I'd never tasted it until like a couple of weeks ago. And now if you take it off the market, I will have to come here and just I will start a protest right in front of this factory. Like, I know where your factory is. I will, get everybody that's listening up in arms, and we will protest if this goes away, because it's just so damn good. So, and like you say, it's crisp, refreshing, and authentically Cuban. Or Cuban American, because I'm not authentically Cuban. I'm authentically Cuban American, so I'll caveat that.
Well, it's funny because we did have people coming here. Like Alex said, we had kind of stopped making it, and I told Alex and Mike, I said, I can't tell you how many people. It was just like one of those in a span of a month that 4 people came here, just asking for it. Yeah, they just came asking for it, and they were or calling or whatever. But I had one guy who, his stepfather told him, chico, yo no encuentro el Cawy por ninguna parte. Yo antes lo compraba aquí y allá, y ahora no lo veo. And where can I get it? Mira, vete para la factoría y cómpralo en la factoría. That's what he said. Cómpralo en la factoría.
They'll sell it to you.
Yo te lo pago, pero búscame el Cawy, whatever. So the guy came here, and I'm like, dude, I'm so sorry. I don't have it. He's like, no, because my stepfather is talking about
this was before the relaunch. He was just
before the relaunch. Before the relaunch. That's why we were like,
more than ever.
Now more than ever, Alex's mom, La Pobre, she kept asking, when are you bringing it back? My sister, my brother-in-law, he had cancer, and one of the only things that was really good for him during that time was the Cawy Lemon Lime. It was refreshing, and I guess it helped,
See como settle his stomach.
It was very good for him. And she was like, her granddaughter, everybody was asking for it. But these random individuals, as my kids call Randys, randoms or whatever, these super nice people.
We love you, randos.
We love you, randos. Whatever the term is now. I'm so aging myself. Anyway, they would come here, and these people, and they really, I have to say, they were very instrumental in us saying, yeah, let's bring it back, let's work on the can, which we had these little, Mickey Mouse cans there. It was let's work on the can. And then Patsy came in, and it was you know, and the thing and everything, and we had the same formula we've always had.
Cuando los cubanos se ponen los motores, that's
right.
it. There's nowhere to go para atrás ni para coger impulso, right?
Like, so that's how, like you say, you know, like, and I actually have like some emails there that I have to reach back to these guys and be like, oh yeah, it's here, you know, because I'm like, I'm sorry, we don't have, or when they showed up, and I'm sorry, we don't have it yet. We're going to be relaunching it under a new thing, but they're probably like, oh my God, you know, like, what's taking these people so long?
All right, so I know it's available now in stores, right?
It's
in grocery
so if you
stores.
go to your store and it's not there,
ask for it.
Ask for it. Yes.
But
ask for it, because
I also know we have a lot of Pero Primos, which is what we call our listeners,
good.
across the U.S. as well as the globe. So, if they're not local here in South Florida, how can they get some Cawy lemon lime? Is there a plan to have it also? You can order it like on
We will
online,
have it online.
and you can have it shipped.
Actually, I think it's already online. So they can go to cawy.net, and there's a small shopping point that they can click to, and they can order it online from us.
Okay, so ya saben, there's no excuse, guys. I don't want to hear from somebody in, you know, Wichita or wherever that's like, ay, pero no lo tienen aquí en el Stop and Shop or whatever. Well, then that's fine. You can go online to cawy.net and you can order it to your heart's content. You can order the Cawy Lemon Lime. Ya de tiro, get some mateba, get some jupiña. You're already there. And shipping te va a cobrar igual. So might as well just, you know, stock up.
That's right.
All right,
But
guys.
if you're in the neighborhood,
Well,
Stop on by. We'll sell it to you.
if you're in the neighborhood, stop by, pero, you know,
Tienes un
be nice.
cumpleaños.
But be nice about it, guys.
Yes,
Be
yes.
nice. You know, they're wonderful people, and we also don't want, because see, now they've said it on my show, and I know that any crazy people that show up, they're going to trace it back to like our listeners.
oh no.
So I don't want you to do papeles malo. I don't want to hear, you know, que me den las quejas. So be nice when you come. They're lovely people. But
Yes,
yeah.
we do need a little lead time to
Yes, yeah.
to prepare an order, because as you can imagine, we're you know
Yes,
filling
yes.
large orders, but we always try to help as much as we can.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, again, thank you guys so much. As always,
Thank
it's
you.
a pleasure coming here,
Glad
Alex.
to be back.
It's lovely meeting you, Josie.
Love hearing you guys all the
Yeah.
time. I laugh all the time when I hear it. And
You're
driving in
now
my car.
you're a return guest now. You're a two-timer. You realize that you've joined a prestigious club.
Como el costumbre de Cuba. La primera vez eres visita, ya eres
Oh no,
parte de la
no,
familia.
ya eres familia. Forget it. Like that's it. We don't even. I have to be formal with Josie. I just met her, but you and I. Oh yeah, that's old hat. That's old hat. But all right, guys. Well, thank you again so much. And you know what? Again, listeners, Cawy Lemon Lime, go out, get it. I know you're probably gonna be like, "Hi, it's good." Trust me. If it tasted bad, I wouldn't have bothered with any of this interview or doing any of this, because you know we don't promote stuff that we don't like, because we're that way. All right, guys. Bueno, thank you.
Have
Guys
a good
again.
one. Thanks.
Thank you.
Pero Let Me Tell You is co-hosted by Darian Borges and Ismaeliano, produced by Ismaeliano, and our theme, Pero Let Me Tell You Freestyle, is composed by Michael Angelo Lomlaplex, the official gay guy. And don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes.